Welcome to the first ever episode of Thoughtsilla. I'm your host Manish. So I have been meaning to start a podcast for a while now, but I couldn't really decide what kind of podcast to make. So I thought if there's one thing about me that's interesting, it would definitely be my thoughts. I have so many thoughts going on in my head immediately after I read an article or watch a video online or consume any form of content. But to put it in a podcast is really boring. So after giving it some thought, I found out that the range and breadth of my thoughts are the highest when I'm having a great conversation with someone. That is why I named my podcast Thoughtsilla. Shaker is that friend of mine with whom the conversations are so unpredictable all the time. We will be talking about a TV show that we both love, and suddenly we are discussing about how psychology explains world economics. So that is something that we wanted to show in the podcast. And I remember I called up Shaker and said I want to make a podcast like this, and he was immediately on board. We talked for hours and came up with a structure for our podcast. If I had to sum up what my podcast is or what's the USP of my podcast, I would say it's conversation. Conversations are organic, they are not scripted, they can be messy at times, they go in direction no one expects, they don't follow a linear pattern bouncing from one topic to another completely unrelated topic and back again without a warning. So, the introduction to this podcast was made after I recorded the main podcast. So, the quality is much better here. So, my voice might not be that great in the podcast to come, but bear with me on this episode because I'm just trying to figure it out, and I think the quality will improve over time. So, for everyone, I would like to suggest to lie down, put on your earphones, and just listen to three people talking. That's the best way to consume our content. And even if you're not interested in the topic that we're talking about, please still do listen to it because you might never know what insight that might uh, give you. So, without any further ado, let's start our first episode. So, on the very first episode of our podcast, we have a very interesting person on board. We have Pavan Yaragudi, who is a nature and wildlife enthusiast and a photographer. He is into wildlife photography for the past 5 years, and he's been photographing and documenting variety of birds and animals while educating children and general public about the documentation. I will vouch for you if you go on and look at his Instagram wall. It will definitely blow your mind. So, welcome, Pavan. How are you?
Thank you so much, Manish. It's a wonderful opportunity for me. So this is my very first podcast which I am recording. So it will be helpful for people to know what all I went through for being a wildlife photographer in past 5 years. So I'm looking forward for your questions now.
Yeah, and we also have Sai Shekhar on the podcast with us. He is the co-creator of the podcast, and welcome, Shekhar.
Thank you, Manish, and thank you, Pawan, for accepting our invitation. It's so nice and kind of you. And this is a huge thing for us and also for you. Like you being on the podcast is a good thing. And I believe that whatever your learnings will be helpful to all the listeners and everyone. Thank you, Manish, and thank you, Pawan.
Yeah,
Yes,
Pavan, my first question to you will be a kind of a what do you say, a cheesy question, you can say. Uh, it's like, how did you start your photography, and what's your first memory with a camera like?
Okay, so I started my photography journey when I was in my school days and my high school days. So I was traveling to a lot of places with my family. So casually, I started photographing a few insects or birds or anything, and I used to come back with that memory, and I used to ask my mentors of photography and get the names of those birds or anything which I shot. So I didn't have a proper memory of any birds before when I was in school days, but later I got to know a lot of things. So my first camera was Canon 1200D. I think Shekhar has seen it also, and a lot of people around this starting stage will have the same setup, Canon 1200D with a basic kit lens, two basic kit lenses, which is 1855 and 55-250. So
Okay.
there, one is a wide angle lens and one is a telephoto lens. So these lenses help me starting off. So for everybody, when they have a camera, when they have their first DSLR camera, they want a nice subject and background differentiation. They just want that background blur. So I too got that effect with my first DSLR camera, and I was very happy. So I started going out and started experimenting with birds. I used to shoot any tiny bird which I see, and I used to have a proper background blur, and I used to start experimenting with that bird. I used to go behind it. I used to chase it. That's not the thing we should do, but I used to do it in the beginning.
Yeah,
So
it
later
happens.
Yeah.
I started getting a hold
Yeah,
of it.
that blur thing I can completely relate with you. So
Yeah,
even when I don't consider myself a photographer, or what I do is photography, but even if it's like you're taking a photo of an object and your phone did not have a portrait mode back then, so you would download PixArt, then make the
yeah.
background blur. that's that's what
Yeah.
everyone
So
does. I can completely
having a
relate to
50 by
that.
250 lens in that
Yeah,
time, it was not too many people had the same setup. So I used to
yeah,
go and get that picture, and I used to get a background blur, and I used to upload it on my Facebook. And
yeah,
Facebook was my main uploading platform back then.
yeah.
So I used to upload on Facebook, and a lot of people used to encourage me because they used to see that background blur in the photo.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, true that, true that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, what does the wild mean to you, Pavan? Like, why did you choose wildlife photography, or what emotional value does it have to you?
Okay. So starting from my childhood days, I was very interested in a lot of flora and fauna thing. I used to get behind a lot of insects. I used to catch butterflies. I used to I used to get amazed by watching a lot of beautiful nature documentaries. So when I was in my school days, I used to watch a lot of documentaries in Nat Geo and Discovery Channel, which everyone watches. So
Yeah,
Dr. David Attenborough, I think most of you know about him,
yeah,
have heard about him. So David Attenborough is the most one of the person who got me into this. He started when I was watching his documentaries. I used to know about all the birds and how they interact with nature. So that got me into wildlife photography. So coming to the question of what does wild mean to me, for me, I just want to go out and enjoy myself. I just want to be solitary. I just want to explore what I can do, my capabilities. So to explore that, I need to go to wild, and that truly brings very a lot of happiness and joy to me. So I just go and enjoy the world.
yeah.
So
So,
it
like,
means that,
wild is like a happy place to you, I guess.
Yeah,
Right.
wild is a happy place for me.
Okay. So, Shekhar, have anything to add?
so it means that all this love towards nature came to you naturally over time, instead of some early influences you had.
Yes, yes, yes. So, a very few things such as moss and ferns on a tree. We are in a city like Ballari. I live in a city like Ballari, which is very dry and arid.
Yeah,
So, when I used to
yeah,
see beautiful trees and beautiful nature, I used to get
yeah,
interested in it, and I wanted to explore more. So,
yeah.
that thing brought me into nature.
Cool,
Okay.
cool. Go ahead. Manish,
So,
go ahead.
yeah. So, I'm just asking this for all the beginners out there. And so, how can one become a wildlife photographer?
So, for one to become a wildlife photographer, you don't need to have a camera. First thing,
Okay.
it's not compulsory to have a camera. You should have the interest to join into wildlife photography. For me, I was not interested in photography at all. My photography interest came when I had my first DSLR. But before that, I was interested in nature and wildlife. So I started getting to know the names of birds. I had one of my best mentors named Harish Bhatt, late Harish Bhatt.
Okay.
So when I used to see a lot of birds while I was going to school, I used to imagine the bird's color, I used to imagine the bird shape, and I used to just come and ask him. I saw this bird with uh, Y-shaped tail and everything. So he used to tell me it's a black drongo. So like that, I started getting to know the names of birds. So for anyone, don't try to be a wildlife photographer in the beginning. Try to be
Okay.
a good naturalist in the beginning.
Okay. So it's
Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
more like
Make
being a
knowing about wildlife in the beginning rather than going
yes.
and
So knowing
taking.
the behavior, how the migration works, how the birds
Okay.
nest, how the mating thing works, how they will get their food and everything. That's the most important thing. Before getting into wildlife photography, I insist everybody to get knowing all those things before getting into wildlife photography.
So it's like putting it this way. You have to capture a moment. You have to first identify the moment. Like
Yeah,
I
sure,
think
sure.
I
It's a
think
good
that's the
word.
best way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shekhar, I have anything to add now?
No, no, nothing much.
Nothing.
So in the beginning days of mine, when I was in my PU days, Shekhar used to accompany me a lot, and he was the
Okay.
person who took me to Mincheri Hills in the beginning. I didn't know what Mincheri Hills was. So
Yeah,
me and Shekhar had a very good experience in Mincheri Hills when we first went. So
Yeah.
when we were going on the trail of the Mincheri Hills, we saw an Indian fox. Indian fox is
Okay.
a very rare animal for our region or anywhere in India. So Indian
Okay.
fox, we saw it right there. But
Okay.
the sad thing is, after a few times when we went back there, the place was destroyed.
Okay.
I think Shekhar
yeah,
remembers it. So
yeah, yeah.
those are the few things which starts inculcating the conservational thought into your mind. So when
Okay.
you start going into the wild, you will see a lot of things and a lot of changes that happen over time. So that will start get you thinking about what's happening around you.
Okay.
I feel this wildlife is a kind of thing where you have to respect nature's privacy. So you need not act like a guy who is entering into someone's personal space and fucking all around the place. Instead,
Okay.
you need to be respect all of them and like maintain kind of a wild etiquette or something like that.
Yeah.
Understand the code, like not dressing like a mad guy, like using all this bright colors and throwing stones and stuff at those wild things is not a good
Yeah.
idea. Like
Yeah. I
people
think
usually do that.
it's basically like how you behave yourself in public. There's a code you have to behave
Yes.
in the wild
So in the
also.
same
You
way,
can't just
Yeah,
go
yeah,
you
crazy in
just
a
can't
forest
wear
and burn
a
everything
neon
down.
T-shirt and a neon shoe and go into the wild.
and you
Yeah.
can't keep on screaming someone's name
Yeah,
like
and a lot
shoot
of
my
people I
pick,
have
and
seen,
shit
a
like.
lot of friends of mine also when we were in
Okay.
uh, when we were in school days, they used to take crackers and they used to crack it if they see some wild
Oh,
animal or some bird or in the place where there is pristine nature. So that those things
yeah.
people should stop.
Okay. I think it's
Okay,
more
so
of like, look, I was the guy in like in my 7th or 8th grade. I would have been the guy to take crackers and go into the forest and burst them. But I think we need to have that conversation at that age so that people
Yes.
know more about it. So I wouldn't do that now, but
Yeah.
I would definitely do it
yeah,
back
this is
then.
the very basic thing. If you want to become a wildlife photographer,
Yeah,
you need to have that discipline and respect towards wildlife's
Yeah.
privacy.
yeah,
Not keep on throwing stones and like you find something, you break those bottles falling around the place
yeah.
and stuff.
So
Like
recently,
You shouldn't do that.
I think the most basic point to become a wildlife photographer is don't burst crackers in the forest.
that's the very.
Yeah, that is very
So
important.
recently, I'm in touch
And
with a lot of kids who are showing a lot of interest in wildlife and
Yeah,
nature in
yeah,
general. And thankfully, they're not like us. They're not like the people who we had in our
yeah,
school days. Uh, People are
yeah.
getting interested in wildlife, and students are actually getting interested. I've taken a few students, around 100 or 200 students, for field
So
trips
cool.
in last 2 or 3 years, and thankfully, they won't do all those things now.
Yeah,
yeah, things are
Yeah.
changing, man.
yeah. That's a huge number, bro. Like 200, 300 kids, you are taking them out on a field trip. You're definitely doing a great job at this age.
Yeah, so I have a few people like Aditya Vattam sir and also People Tree School. administration who allow me to do these things.
Prabhu sir.
Yeah, Prabhu sir will allow me to do these
Yeah.
things. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the most innovative things that any school can do in Ballari is pupil tree. Like if I heard a crazy idea, I think pupil tree will be the first school to implement
Yeah,
that.
Yeah, no doubt in that,
Yeah.
bro.
So yeah, Pawan, my next question to you is like, I am hooked now. Like I want to learn wildlife photography, but how can I identify birds and species around me?
So Manish, I want to ask a question to you. Just
Okay.
tell me if you want to learn wildlife or you want to learn photography.
Just I'm interested in wildlife. I just want to identify. If I see a bird, I want to know like which bird is it, what's its migration pattern like, and stuff like that. How can I start doing that?
Okay, so the first basic thing what you want to do to start birding is get a field guide. I will just note the name of the book. It's Birds of Indian Subcontinent, which is available online.
Okay.
So if you just purchase that book, we have around 1500 species of birds in India. That's a very good number.
Okay.
That's a very good biodiversity which we have. And in that we have around half of them are resident, half of them are migrant, and half of them are vagrants, which just come and go some other times. Not they don't have a particular pattern or anything. So you just need to know all these basic things. So once you start going out, you start. It's not about going out of the city and going into some national parks or wildlife sanctuaries. You can start it right in your home. If you go out in the morning, you can see a purple sunbird. I think most of you have seen. I think you have seen, Manish, the purple sunbird, which is a black color with metallic blue accents. I think you have seen that bird.
Yeah, I think I've seen.
So that's a purple sunbird, which is very common in our city, or in any Indian cities, of that matter. So start identifying those small birds. Go to your local parks. So in my beginning days of wildlife photography, I used to go to the park which is beside my home in SNPet. So I used to go there and I used to record a lot of species, and I got a very good record of species there. Which was a woodpecker, which is very rare. It's a white-naped woodpecker. I got it in the middle of city beside my home, and also I saw a lot of owls there. So there is a lot of biodiversity happening right in the city.
Okay.
So as I said, just see the bird, look at its color, and just Google search the name and its features, and you will get the name. So you should start with that, and later just get a photograph of it. Just get a record shot of it. There is no way you can get a very good eye level shot of a bird in your first try. So just start getting a basic photo of it. Let it be a record shot. Let it be a pixelated shot, which you should crop later. You just need to identify that bird. That's it. And the main thing which helped me was I got into a Facebook group called as Ask IDs for Indian Birds. There is a Facebook group called Ask IDs for Indian Birds in Facebook. So there a lot of enthusiastic people and also ornithologists are present in that group. If you just upload the photo of the bird with all the specifications, like I got it on this date and this was the bird, I can just describe it basically. So you will get the identification of the bird, and also a lot of people will tell you about the behavior and give you more knowledge about the bird. So that helped me a lot in learning what the bird is. What's the name of the bird and what's the behavior of the bird. And also speaking about behavior of a bird, I think you should just start going into the wild and observing it. A lot of people just go and try to get the best photograph possible and they'll just come back from that place. That's not the thing. In the beginning of your days, you should just start. You will not get a good photograph for sure. Just get a record shot of it and start observing the bird. Start observing where it moves, where it nests, what are its behavior, how good is it in its bird society. Like birds have society of their own. There will be 7 or 8 bird groups. So you should just observe all those things, and one day you will be comfortable with them, and you can guess, I can get this shot of this bird just by looking at its behavior at that moment.
Okay. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
So, is there any YouTube channel that a beginner wildlife photographer can subscribe to and learn as he progresses.
Okay, telling about my experience,
Mhm.
I was not I was not watching any YouTube videos back then, but I have one of my best mentors is Sudhir Shivaram sir. Sudhir Shivaram
Okay.
photography is the name. Just record it and just go and search it on Facebook.
Okay.
So back then we didn't have Instagram or anything. Around 5 years ago, Instagram was not this popular. So back then, sir
Okay.
used to do Facebook live sessions every Friday.
Hmm.
So I used to tune in for each and every session what he brings in, and I used to get all the knowledge, and I used to note down what all he says. So if he tells about getting a good eye level shot of some bird, he used to tell
Yeah.
what settings you need to have at what time of the day. He used to tell all those things. What he used to tell a lot of specifications about how you should set up your camera while you are in the wild. So that
Yeah.
one thing helped me a lot. So I insist everybody to go to Sudhir Shivaram sir's page in Facebook and start looking at his Facebook lives from previous
Okay.
years.
Okay. So you can just start from there.
Yeah, you can. I started from there, so I'm just insisting people to do that.
Okay. So, what are the things that you wish you knew before you started wildlife photography?
So, as we were speaking in the beginning, getting a very crisp shot of a bird with background blur, that's
Yeah.
not possible in the beginning at all.
Okay.
So I used to go birding. I used to get that background blur, but the bird which I used to shoot was very tiny. So the
Okay.
first thing what everyone should get doing is go and start looking at the bird and make the bird feel comfortable about you.
Yeah.
So if you are in some funky dress and making some nonsense sounds, the birds will not be around you at all.
Okay.
So if the main thing what we need is patience and stealth. Stealth is
Okay.
very important in wildlife photography. So if you are
Okay.
stealthy, you will get a chance to just go and observe the bird in a close distance. So once you start
Okay.
observing the bird in a close distance, in your next visit or after a few visits, you will start getting decent shots of it.
Okay. So basically, you should
So,
not be like a TikToker around a bird.
Yeah. That's impossible. If you behave
Yeah.
like a TikToker around a bird, it will just abandon you and run away from you.
Yeah. Like rest of the humans, even the birds will
Yeah,
leave you. Okay.
so Pawan, I had this doubt. So when you said like you have to start observing the bird's movement and like how is the bird going and all the patterns of its nest and something, but I feel that is too bit advanced to know what is happening. Let's come back to very basic. So I can easily identify what
Okay.
is a crow and what
Okay.
is an eagle and what is a peacock
Okay.
and what is a kingfisher. So that is because naturally I've seen it over a long time and I've seen this all around the places, like because you have this weaves. But when it comes to wild, I guess you can't oftenly see that same bird all the
Yeah.
time. So how do you get that knack of it? Like how to not break that continuity in the beginning and how to stick to that continuation part. And like we tend to forget things very easily. So how do we gap that and how to get good in the strong foundation stuff and things?
So
Can you explain more on
the
that?
first thing what every wildlife photographer should be good at is geography. Geography is one of the most important thing for any wildlife enthusiast in general. You need to know what kind of habitat you are in. Are you in a thick forest? Are you in a deciduous forest? Are you in a wetland? Are you in a grassland? Are you in a desert? All those things
Okay.
matter a lot. So knowing the habitat, once you know what's the habitat is, you will get to know what kind of birds live in a habitat. So if we take forest in general, if you take a rainforest, naturally the birds which are in the rainforest are very small. We won't get very huge birds generally in rainforest, but when it comes to open grasslands and deserts, we'll have very huge birds. Like there's a bird called as great Indian bustard, which is very popular for our place. So you need to know the geography in the beginning. Knowing the geography will help you. You can just have a mind map that I can see these kind of species in this habitat. That will help you a lot when you are in the field. You can expect what you can see and what you can't see. That will help a lot.
Pavan, tell us an incident that happened with you in the wild that gives you the reason to follow this passion.
Okay, so when I was into this for around 2 years in the year
Okay.
2016, and I think
Okay.
this experience was also with Shaker. We went to
Okay.
Ballari Fort for the very first time.
Yeah.
We used to go frequently, but in that very time when we went, we saw a rare
Okay.
bird called as yellow-throated bulbul. I think Shaker know
Yeah,
about it.
yeah, yeah, I do.
So that is
Okay.
an endangered bird which is found in a few pockets of India. It's an endangered bird which assigned by ICUN. So
Okay.
it's an endangered bird. So we saw that bird in Ballari Fort, and I got a very decent photo, not a decent photo, very basic photo of it. We can just identify that it is this bird. So once
Okay.
I got to know about it, and I told about that sighting to a few people in Ballari, and
Mhm.
that that very sighting was published in the Hindu.
Okay.
So also along with that, I also photographed another bird called as World flycatcher. World
Okay.
flycatcher is a bird which is around 7 to 8 grams in weight and very small bird. So
Mhm.
it migrated all the way from Himalayas, and it's normally found in a few forests of Western Ghats, but never in Ballari, in the middle of the
Okay.
city. So I photographed it in middle of the city. So these two sightings were published in the Hindu.
Okay.
So that was very big thing for me when I was in second PU. When I was in my second PU,
Okay.
uh,
Uh,
getting your
Obviously,
sightings
you're.
on newspaper, on a very popular newspaper such as the Hindu, was a very big
Yeah.
thing for me. So
Okay.
that kept me motivated, and that sighting got a lot of people know about me. A lot of people called
Okay.
me and spoke about it, and also
Okay.
that started pushing me more into getting
Wildlife photography.
wildlife
Yeah.
photographers. Yeah,
Okay. That's a cool story, dude. Like
yeah,
having your article published on the Hindu when you're like in 12th, like a
yeah.
huge deal, and
Hmm.
not everyone can achieve that feat. So keep it up, dude.
Yeah, so all those two sightings, I never knew I will get that birds in Ballari. The
Okay.
World flycatcher sighting was in library, Central Library, which is also near my home in Pet. So I was just
Yeah.
having a small bird walk in that area, and I saw some
Yeah.
blue bird. It's a very vibrant blue bird. I photographed it, and I got to know that it was World flycatcher, and I couldn't believe it was a World flycatcher. So, and later
Okay.
I sent that photo to a few people who would confirm me that it's the same bird. So that was
Yeah.
very good sighting for Ballari city.
Yeah. So I think this story has done so much justice to our podcast,
Yeah.
because when I and Shekhar were talking about making a podcast and we were finalizing whom we should get
Hmm.
on board and with whom we have to make a first episode. And look, for generally for people like in our age in Ballari, it's like Ballari is a very boring place for most of
Hmm.
the people,
Yeah.
and nothing really happens there. It's not a very happening place. But I and Shekhar kind of wanted to point out the fact that there are really good things that happen around us here, and certainly your story is like very exciting, and I think everyone should hear this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and also I was very interested in owls at the beginning, and I never
Okay.
got a single picture of owl. I think me
Okay.
and Shekhar went to a lot of places searching for owls also. So
Hmm.
when I was searching for owl, I used to never get it. I saw an owl very few times. There are basically three species of owls in Ballari, in and around our
Okay.
region. One is
Okay.
Indian eagle owl, one is spotted owlet, and another one is barn owl. So Indian
Okay.
eagle owl and barn owl are I sighted it a few years ago, but now in the beginning I used to only see the spotted owlets, and those spotted owlets were common in the city, are very common in the city, but they are nocturnal animals. I think most of the people will know what nocturnal is. Nocturnal is an animal which comes out, which will be active in the night time and will be passive. Will not be active in the daytime. They'll be roosting. They'll be just
Yeah.
resting somewhere. So
Okay.
I used to run around a lot of places in to find these spotted owlets, and after a few years of searching and chasing them, I got my first decent picture of it. So all those
Okay.
things, we normally think Ballari is a very dull place. We don't have any good biodiversity here. If we want to see a reasonable amount of birds and animals, we should go to Mysore, or we should go to Bandipur to see tigers, or we should go to Rangantittu to see birds. But that's not the case at all. We have Hagri River running near Mocha, and that's our Rangantittu. That's our Rangantittu. We have a lot of similar species which we can see in Rangantittu in Mocha, near Hagri River in Mocha, and also Tibidam backwaters. A lot of people will ignore that. They'll just go take a few pictures in Gunda Forest and come back, or they'll take a few pictures in backwaters. But Tibidam backwaters has some of the best birds which we can find in Karnataka or even in South India. Flamingos are found in Tibidam backwaters.
Okay.
So this is
actually the Agri River that you were speaking, Pavan. Do you happen to know a guy named Vijay? He is also Vijay Itigi.
Okay, Vijay Itigi is from Ankasamudra in.
He's actually my relative, and he kind of took me there, and I've seen that place. It's beautiful. Like he was the first to introduce me to that place, and really, it's crazy how many birds we can see there. And it's a really underrated place, and a lot of people should visit.
So, Ankasamudra is a place which I want to point out. Ankasamudra is the only bird sanctuary in our North Karnataka region. There's no bird sanctuary. There are a few bird sanctuary, but for our Ballari district, it's the very first bird sanctuary for Hyderabad, Karnataka region, I can say. So, this place is a very unique place. It was a thorny forest in previous around 50 to 60 years ago. And when we used to have a lot of water in Tungabhadra backwaters, people used to pump water from Tungabhadra backwaters and into Ankasamudra lake. Ankasamudra is the place, is the name of that lake. So the basic I'll just tell what the landscape of the place is. You can see a lot of thorny trees, dead trees, and you will see a lot of water. I think you know. You've seen that. So basically, that's the best habitat for a bird to nest. Huge water birds can nest there because no predator or no person can go into that place because it has around 5 to 6 feet of water, and there are huge thorny dead trees. So birds can nest over the thorny dead trees. So this is one of the best places which people can visit in our district.
So we should definitely get together and visit there, man. Whenever you're going next time, meet me up. We'll have a good time there.
So what I've observed from the last conversations you had is, so it is very important to learn geography and knowing about the bird, because Pavan had the knowledge of what kind of bird it is and is it rare or not, and he knew that what picture he had in his camera was a really precious one. So what might happen with most of the other guys is you don't know what kind of bird it is, but you have a good bird shot. The knowledge of not knowing what kind of bird may not make you famous, or may not go as popular as it. If you had known the bird and if you have given the description, it would be a good idea. So that is what I really understood, that knowing the bird, having the bird knowledge is very much important. And the second.
So a lot of people who are doing photography in Ballari, they capture birds, they capture good shots of birds, but they just upload it with a few hashtags and tell it's a bird. They'll not try to get to know what bird it is.
That is what I've observed in your Instagram post. Like, even if it's like the tiniest insect, you have so much to tell about that insect. I think that's what sets you apart.
That knowledge will make the
knowledgeable. Everyone can take a photo and just put a random hashtag and get likes.
And secondly, what you said about the biodiversity all around the place is a really good one. We often end up searching for something great outside the place, which is out of our reach, which we fail to search in our own environment and in our surroundings. Because what you have said, and by your past records and stuff, you have found some of the rarest birds which are hard to find, and we have found in Ballari. So there is a lot of hope and possibility that you can find good wildlife and good biodiversity if you are just aware of what's really happening around, and you need to have a disciplined approach. Is what I learned from the past conversations.
What is the Ballari wildlife scene like? What's unique about our region, and what are the places we have to visit?
So I want you people to picturize this thing. When you see India map, Ballari is located in south central of India.
Yeah.
Okay, and when birds start migrating from north to south, so my birds normally migrate from the colder regions to hotter regions.
Warmer
So
regions.
Ballari is a hotter region which is near to equator. So
Yeah.
when the birds migrate from north to south, they follow the central highway. There's a central highway in India migration path. So Ballari sits in middle of it. So once the birds come till central south and they spread disperse to all the places around. So Ballari is in a very tactically very good place for good bird sightings in India. So as of places around Ballari, I have a very few spots which I frequently visit. There are Sangankal Hills, Mocha Forest, Mencheri Hills, and Talur Road.
Okay.
So these four are the places which I frequently visit around Ballari city, and I insist a lot of people to do that, visit the same places. So when you go to Sangankal, I think most of you have seen it, and it's been explored and used for all bad reasons till now.
I was about to tell that, it's
Recently,
like there's so much like if like I tell you, I used to go for a long run or a walk there, and it used to be like 5 a.m. in the morning. The place is like so beautiful when you visit there at 5 a.m. and the place is not same when you go there, let's say like 5 p.m.
And you need not also say that visit the place. They are already visiting the place.
Yeah. So you have to visit for all the right reasons and not the wrong reasons. Yeah.
I'm using this platform to tell people, go to the place, explore the place, but please don't litter. Telling about Sangankal Hills. Sangankal is a very old Neolithic hill which was formed in ancient days, and around 3,500 to 4,000 years ago, first people who visited our region established there. So Neolithic age humans established their boot camp there, and today if we visit the place, we can see a lot of stone carvings in the dikes. So dikes are these hills. I think a lot of people have seen the dikes. Dikes are an old lava field which has weathered and become into hard rocks. It's an old lava field. So on those black and on those dark rocks, we can see rock carvings. And sadly, people are going there and writing all the different names below.
Yeah.
Like Leila loves Majnu, and everyone has seen that.
Please. Okay.
Yeah. Like that's what the problem with us right now is that we just feel that Ballari is this most unhappening place, but in fact there's so much going on around us, right? From like you said, the earliest mankind, like those people were maybe starting fires with sticks there, but now we are lighting cigarettes there. Right?
When I had my cousins visiting from Australia to Ballari, I took them to all the places around, and they said places back there are very crappy. They don't have any importance, and they are developed to the very best extent they can. But here we have such beautiful places such as Sangankar Hills, Mencheri Hills, and all those places, but there is no development whatsoever.
Yeah, I think I think that our tourism game need to be like taken to the next level, because whatever, like if you want to visit some tourist place in Ballari, everyone says like go to Hampi, visit Hampi. Yeah, Hampi is really good. I agree, but there are so many other places that people should explore.
And I didn't knew that this was a Neolithic stone and where the early man life was started. I mean, if you had known this before, this is of very huge importance. If you really research well, you can find the carbon copies of them and some genetics also if you really dig deep. But right now, you don't find anything.
People, if you don't know, there is a museum about Sangankar Hills in the Central Library of Ballari. So I want people to visit that place and explore it.
I didn't knew that too.
Yeah, I have lived like I think 99% of my life I've lived in Ballari.
So it was opened on August 15th last year. So it's a very new place. I think you should visit. So there is a lot of research that has gone behind those Sangankal Hills. Before we all knew Sangankal Hills, a lot of people came from Japan, France, and a lot of those places and stayed there for months and studied each and every rock. Like each and every rock, they scanned each and every rock and got to know what are the basics of people back then. And today, like as there is no protection for that place, people are going and spoiling it. So just get to know the importance of the place before going and doing nonsense in that place.
Yeah, this is sad reality, man. Like people flying from other countries.
But I think we need to have, because most of the people don't know what's actually the value of the place that they're destroying. I think through this podcast, at least maybe some people get to know the real value of that place, and maybe we start a conversation. Let's hope
So
that happens.
once we speak about Sangankal, there are as it is a rocky area, we have a very few birds, very few normal basic birds which we'll find, and also very few rare birds also. So the rare birds are Indian eagle owl, which I said about before. Indian eagle owl is a very good bird species for our region. It's a very huge bird. It's almost the size of a small dog. So it's as big as a small puppy. So that's found in India in the Sangankal Hills. But there are a few birds such as short-toed snake eagle. Short-toed snake eagle is one of the best birds which we can find in our region. In the name, we can find out that it's a short-toed snake eagle. So snake eagle means that bird only hunts snakes and eats snakes. Okay, so that bird is found in that region, and a lot of similar birds such as Bonelli seagull. So once you start going and exploring that place, you will get all these species. Later if we start speaking about further into Mocha Road area, we can go to the Mocha Road Canal. Okay, Mocha Road Canal and the reservoir which is near the canal. So a lot of people go to reservoir for all the wrong reasons.
For photo shoots mainly.
No, blur pictures, bro. Like we want that blur background.
A lot of people go to very beautiful places and capture photos with blur background.
That's this what you call silhouettes.
You could have done that in your home. What was the whole point of going out?
So the reservoir is one of the most interesting places because a bird called as bar-headed geese. This bar-headed geese is world's highest flying bird in terms of altitude. Okay, it flies at 10,000 meters above sea level, almost at the level of aeroplanes height. So they pass the Himalayas. They come from Tibet and Mongolia, and they pass Himalayas and they come to South India for their winter homeland migration. So they are found in very good numbers in a place called Magadi near Gadag, but no one knew they were found in a place like Ballari. So I first discovered them in the year around 4 years ago in 2016, and from then I'm seeing constantly around 500 to 600, and almost sometimes it will be around 1,000 birds. So the numbers will go up to 1,000 birds. In the places like Magadi, they are up to 5,000, 10,000 in numbers, but it's a very good record for Ballari, seeing those birds in 500 to 1,000 numbers. So I think a lot of people have never seen them in the wild. So that's one of the most important sightings, most important place what people can go and photograph in Mocha Road. And also going further into canal area. Canal, always there is some biodiversity happening in the canal. If it is dry, a lot of huge birds which come to fish, which come to eat the dead fishes and dead crustaceans and all those things. And when there is when it's full of water, we can see a lot of kingfishers and a lot of such things happening in monsoon season. So these two places are very important birding places for Mocha Road. And going further into Mocha Forest, Mocha Forest is the most spoiled wild place in Ballari.
That's what we
I seriously didn't knew, but I'm amazed by telling that there was this grey geese bird which was doing really fine, like 10,000 feet above. You know, I didn't knew that.
Like a freaking bird which can fly as high as an airplane is coming to our city, and no one even knows.
And that too, it flies around Himalayas and places like that. the bird might be looking really great.
It's literally climbing Himalaya and coming to
There
you,
are
dude.
videos, there are
I think you
documentaries
can.
in Discovery which you can see where they are flying over Mount Everest, where they are flying over, and the temperatures
Oh.
at that altitude will be minus 40 degrees in the minimum in the daytime, minus 40
Yeah.
degrees. Okay.
That is lot of features, man.
That I think, look, a huge metal tube, which is like a modern engineering piece that cannot sustain at such high altitudes. And nature's work is like doing that kind of wonders. I think we
All
also
I
have to
want
notice
people
that.
is to do is what the documentaries, what they see in the TV, the same kind of wildlife, the similar
Yeah.
kind of wildlife is also found around us. Once
This is very much true,
once
bro.
you see something in TV, you will just think it is somewhere out in the world. You just can't have access to that. If you want to see a tiger, if you want to see very good birds, you should go to Bandipur or you should go to Kabini,
Yeah.
or else you won't find it anywhere else.
Yeah, maybe it's maybe it's because when I'm looking at a documentary, it's shot in such a way that it's like a perfect shot of everything that I see in nature, and when I'm looking in the naked eyes, it's not really the
You
same.
find later.
Maybe
You
that's
find
where
later.
people kind of they get lost in that
a
translation.
lot of photos that I also I should start doing this. A lot of photos that I also shoot, I should have a BTS for every shot. So I shot this bird, this photo of this bird in this location. Then people will get to know what the location really is. It's very familiar location for them.
Yeah. Even the place where you stand is really important to get a perspective, literally and metaphorically speaking.
Yeah, got it.
So Pavan, I want to ask you, what's the wildlife photographers community in Ballari like? Like, is there a community of like-minded people? What do you guys do?
Yeah, specifically wildlife we want to know. I know there is a community, very big community, but we want to talk about wildlife.
We are a very good group of people who are into. We have a lot of people who are doctors. So basically, a lot of doctors are interested into wildlife photography, and naturally, doctors are very busy in their lives. So that's obvious. As they are doctors, they are very busy in life. So we will communicate to each other and we'll speak about all those things, but there is no community as in general. For that community, we need youth of the city to come and join me and all the other people so that we can have a proper community. So speaking about community, Mysore has one of the best communities of birders in India. So a lot of like 50 to 60 people go together and explore all the places, all the lakes of the city and a lot of wilderness around the city. So we want such a community to be existing in Ballari. And even in the places like Manipal near Mysore, near Mangalore, there are a group of people, around 30 to 40 people who are very interested. People of all the ages can get into wildlife or get into birding or knowing about animals in general. It's not only for youth or it's not only for elderly people. Everybody can do it. So we just want a community to build in this city. We have communities of PUBG. We have 20 to 30 people sitting in some place and playing the 3 to 4 groups of PUBG. But we don't have 5 to 6 people going together to see bird or to document some bird or just go and enjoy the nature in general. Like 10 to 15 friends will go. They just shoot their own pictures. Photo shoot. They go for a photo shoot. They'll change 5 to 6 shirts and they'll come back and upload with all the hashtags and editing.
And a disturbing thought about photo shoot. Like, you may not know, but some people know that I play guitar, right? So I have a guitar. And there are like 10 to 20 requests made to me. So please, bro, give your guitar. We are going for photo shoot. Like, seriously. So I think we have to get over this photo shoot trend.
Trend is only for people in high school, and thankfully people who are in high school are very much interested in all these things than people who are at 20s in the age of 20s and
Yeah. I think that's the phase where you.
No, that's when reality starts
yes,
kicking
yes,
in.
yes.
No, you'll realize what's
Yeah.
really happening
Yeah.
around.
Once you become 20, life starts to suck.
Everyday photo shoot.
So basically, yeah,
So you just want to impress your crush, and that's
yeah,
it. Okay.
okay.
So
S- So yeah, tell me.
I want
Go
a
on.
good community to build. If you people are interested in nature, if you're not interested in birds, okay. If you're not
Yeah,
interested in birds, you're not interested in animals, okay. But a lot of people go to trekking. So if
yeah,
you're interested in trekking, there's not only Sangankal Hills and Ballari Gudda are not only the two spots of trekking in Ballari city. There are very beautiful
yeah.
places such as Mincheri Hills. Mincheri Hills has around 4 to 5 good trekking routes. And also in
But
Sangankal,
yeah,
there are around 5 to 6 good trekking routes in Sangankal too. I need people to explore all those places,
yeah,
but please don't litter while doing it.
Yeah, whatever it
yeah,
is, like
Yeah,
discipline is like
so
very
I just
basic,
want
man.
people to
yeah,
form a basic community. There is a very good runners club in Ballari and cyclist club in Ballari. So if there is a wildlife
yeah.
enthusiast club or a trekkers club also, it would be very good.
You mean you
So
need
yeah,
not
through
necessarily have a DSLR to join this club
Yes.
or something
So
like
yeah,
that. You just need to have that
I
curiosity and
want to get back to
enthusiasm and explore
the
this.
Mysore thing. A lot of people in the Mysore group they don't
yeah,
have any camera gear. They just have a binoculars. And there's an app called as eBird in
yeah,
which is available on Play Store and App Store. So if people can just download the
Okay.
eBird app and you can just mark what birds you have seen. If you get to know the name of bird, you can just mark. So all the people they just record. You can just
yeah,
write down what bird you have seen, and over a period of time, that will be really helpful if there is some destruction happening. So I tell what help people can take from all the records what we are getting in Ballari is one day if people are going to spoil Sangankal Hills, they are just going to destroy. I can come up with my list of birds. I can come up with. I have seen all these flora and fauna in this place, and we need protection for this place. So that's a very little
mm,
bit we can give to nature back. So what happens? I'm telling a few advantages of going to birding or nature watch is one thing. There is no natural destruction by localites. If we people are going
yeah,
frequently to some place, there will be people who will come and hunt a lot of birds and animals. They will stop doing it because people are coming
yeah,
there. That's one thing. And
yeah,
another thing they will stop
yeah,
destroying in Sangankal, there was huge scale destruction of rocks. They were quarrying rocks like anything, and thankfully it has
yeah,
stopped now. But if we don't explore the place more, or if we are not frequent to the place, people can just start their illegal activities again. Or you take Muka
yeah,
Forest. Muka Forest had very less people visiting there, and still has very less people visiting there, and it's only used for a few purposes, such as a lot of bad things that are happening there.
yeah,
So if we start
yeah,
go
yeah,
and looking for birds and animals there, in Mocha Forest we have really good biodiversity, and if we start looking, a lot of people
mm,
who are coming to drink there or do nonsense, they will think we should not do it here. So we'll bring out
yeah.
the importance of the place.
So
Yeah.
yeah, to the people listening to this podcast, I want to say Pavan is really approachable. I will link I'll leave the link to his Instagram profile in the description. You can just go ahead and contact him or any like-minded people who just want to trek or see the wildlife. He is really an easy person to deal with. He just you can just contact
Yeah,
him, and maybe we can build a community
yes.
that way.
You're just one step
And
away
it's
from, doing good things.
yeah,
Just type in hi and
yeah,
things go on, man.
So
That's
a
it.
lot of people,
yeah,
a lot of youngsters who are interested in photography. There are a lot of people actually who are interested in wildlife photography and shooting birds. So they approach me, and I will do
yeah,
my best in telling where to go and where not, what to do and what not to do, and also
yeah,
getting to know. So we spoke about all the places that are here, and we have left out Mincheri Hills. So I'll speak about Mincheri Hills now. Okay. Okay, so Mincheri Hills, Mincheri Hills is another spot. If you just go and look into the Google Earth, Mincheri Hills is the starting point of Sandur Hill Ranges. So Sandur Hill Ranges starts from Mincheri Hills area and it ends near TB Dam spit. So TB Dam is built on the Mincheri Hill, the same hill ranges which starts in Ballari.
Okay.
So Mincheri Hills is a very good. It's around 600 to 700 meters in altitude. So it's one of the best preserved places of wildlife in Ballari. We have a lot of black bucks. I think a lot of people know about black bucks.
Salman Khan fans know it very much.
The black buck is the most cited mammal, we can say, after the monkeys. Black buck is the most easily citable mammal in our region. So black bucks are found in Hagri region, which I have photographed. I think a lot of, if you just go and check my Instagram, I've posted a lot of pictures of black bucks which are shot in Hagri region, and they're also found in Mincheri Hills region. So stop going to Sangankal Hills now. There are a lot of people already. Go to Mincheri Hills and also to Hagri region to see these black bucks. So Mincheri Hills also is a very good place of retreat. So if you go there, there's a very old bungalow which we have seen. So it's around 200 years ago. The person named Bruce. I think most of you know about have heard the name Bruce. Bruce Pate.
Okay.
Yeah. So Bruce was a collector in the British era. So he built a palace. He built his summer retreat on the top of Mincheri Hills. It's called as Bruce Bungalow.
Yeah,
it's
British
called as
bungalow, right?
Bruce Bungalow.
Bruce.
So you can just go and visit that place and explore the wild around it and don't litter. Okay.
Yeah,
that is very important, man. No littering.
You have to bring that up every time you point out a good place.
The bad thing that's happening in Bruce Bungalow is the same thing. It is a very old, beautiful bungalow, and there are heart-shaped carvings.
Somebody loves someone.
On all the walls. Literally on all the walls, there are heart carvings.
Oh, so that's just sad, man. Like literally, I did not know I could find black bucks near my city. And the Bruce thing, I did not know.
Bro, it's not just black bucks, bro. You find weird animals over there. I mean, not weird, like very different kind of, like we have seen foxes someday. Sometimes we have also heard this bear noises.
Yeah, bears are also there are bears in the Gudaikote region and also near
the Daroji
region. So sometimes they will come to the hills in around Mincheri Hills.
Yeah,
this is like a very big place, man. We need to preserve that.
Yeah, I think mostly people should, after this pandemic is over, I think people should really get together and explore these places.
Yes, seriously.
Just to say, this has been the the best first episode that I wanted to make. I think what I wanted to point out in this podcast is the power of conversation. You sit to just talk about wildlife photography, and even for the people who are not interested in wildlife photography, there's literally so many things you can know from these kind of conversations. And this is a great start to us. Thank you, Pavan, for being on our podcast. It was lovely to have you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and I've also like to add up, I didn't really know that there is a lot of biodiversity happening all around the place in the first point, that is kind of really being an irresponsible citizen or an irresponsible resident of a particular place, because you don't know the thing, what is really happening around you. This is a lot of geography and a lot of things, man, that bird and this Mincheri Hills and Neolithic rock. You don't really get to see all this after a few years. I mean, you just can't experience this firsthand over time.
Yeah.
So this is a lot of eye opener for a guy like me and Manish, and a lot of other people who are watching it, because there is a lot to learn about the place where you are coming from. That is really shameful if you don't know what's really happening around. So, I mean, yeah, thanks a lot, Pavan. You know, we were confident enough that getting you on this first episode would be a blast.
Yeah.
And we knew it, this is going to be a great one. Like, in the first place, we really wanted to have a great conversation.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
So I just want to give a message to all the people who want to be a wildlife photographer. So, okay,
Okay.
you want to be a wildlife
Right.
photographer now. The first thing what you want to know is the basics of your camera, which is exposure triangle. You just Google exposure triangle and
Okay.
you will get a lot of articles. Just study about it. That's enough. That's enough to get you started in wildlife
Okay.
photography or any photography field in general. So once you do that,
Yeah.
start exploring the place. Respect all the places where you visit. Respect. It's not only in Ballari city. Anywhere in the world you visit, just respect that place and get to know what's the habitat of the place. Get to know what's happening. Just observe the place for some time, and later, over time, this is not something that can happen with you overnight. You just need to give a lot of time for it. In the beginning, I never got a good shot for around 2 or 3 years in the beginning, and later when I started
Yeah.
upgrading and I started getting good experience in these things, I started making good pictures. So never quit in the beginning if you don't get good pictures in the beginning. So just keep on going. Don't keep make it a ritual. Make it your life ritual, and all the best. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Pavan, for being on our podcast. It was really nice to have you. So this ends our first episode.